Netflix has hit it out of the park with its newest release, Wednesday. Sure, Gen Z was bound to fall for the newest goth on the block, but when it broke Stranger Things' record for most hours viewed in a week, they knew they had something special on their hands. And it looks like Tim Burton knew exactly what he was doing as well when he decided to introduce the most iconic member of the Addams family to a newer generation. There's no doubt that each viewer is completely obsessed with the lead heroine, played by Jenny Ortega. So to find out all the work the cast did on the show, stick around with us. First up, Tim Burton had a lot of rules for Jenna Ortega. The lead teen character played by Jenna Ortega, and known by all as Wednesday, has a few distinctive character traits that set the eldest Addams apart from the other outcasts at Nevermore Academy. Fans were particularly drawn to Wednesday's characteristic of never blinking throughout the series, and it turns out that the lack of blinking was completely deliberate. Netflix revealed the origins of Wednesday's lack of blinking in a tweet on November 28th. The streamer claimed that Tim Burton instructed Jenna Ortega not to blink any further when playing Wednesday after trying one take when she didn't blink. As a result, she didn't. In fact, when fans learned about this, they got to work and watch the show again to see if that was true. Turns out it was. Apart from a handful of times, Ortega was disciplined and ensured that in the majority of her scenes, she followed Burton's instructions. When she appeared on the Today Show on November 21st, Jenna offered an in-depth explanation of how this came about. According to Ortega, Wednesday doesn't blink. She explained that one particular thing that Burton really liked about her depiction of the character was when she tilted her chin towards her chest, let her muscles relax, and gazed intently into the camera from beneath her furrowed brows. Otherwise known as the Kubrick stare, the director wanted Ortega to look at others in that way. Similarly, in one take, she didn't blink, and Burton was hooked. From there on, he told her that she should no longer blink in the show. Ortega obliged once again, and some of Wednesday's most iconic moments started coming to life. While Burton was quite demanding about what Jenna should do as Wednesday, there's another kind of weird reason why he doesn't like his characters to blink. Turns out, Tim Burton detests the act of blinking, which is why most of his characters don't blink frequently in his films. The director had admitted all the way back in 2016 that he doesn't know why he disliked blinking. All he knows is that even speaking about it at that moment was freaking him out. While this may seem impossible for a normal person, Wednesday is supernaturally gifted, so it's likely she doesn't need to close her eyes for more than a minute. Plus, deciding to cut down the blinking made moments when Wednesday does blink seem much more powerful. Up next, Ortega had a tough time on set. Recently, Ortega had a conversation with Christina Ricci, the most well-known actress to have played Little Wednesday. Turns out that Ricci also plays a part in this adaptation of the iconic cartoon characters from Charles Addams. Ricci, who played the role for the first time in 1991, was told by Ortega that she was worried about playing just a fake version of her role, but that wasn't the only hard part of the role. Fans have only ever seen Wednesday as a young girl, somewhere between the ages of 5 and 10. So all of her dark humor and point of view sound okay because it's all coming from an innocent and naive child. But as a teenager, that's no longer the case. Once she was older, they were worried about her coming off as a twisted and nasty person. Ricci also agreed with Ortega's views. She wanted to know how Ortega handled the character because it isn't easy portraying someone with such extreme reactions. It makes it hard to fit the unusual role into a traditional narrative. Not to mention, Ortega was also dealing with various directors who had their own idea of what the character should be, so working with them all couldn't have been simple. Coming up, Ortega admitted that the shooting got stressful. Ortega's time on set was hard for a number of reasons, but one hard thing was dealing with the different directors. You see, Tim Burton didn't direct every episode in the series. Multiple directors came in to direct different parts, so she'd constantly be moving between them and Tim. And Ortega realized that each director wanted something different from her. So Burton wanted her to have absolutely no expression at all, and Ortega understood that. But being expressionless for all of the show, while playing a character that in every scene, wasn't as simple as it sounds. Ortega was playing Wednesday, so she voiced her opinions at times and explained why she felt the character would behave in a certain way, but she felt not everyone trusted her opinion. To get over all that stress and anxiety, she would call her parents every night because the project was different from all the others. Usually, she had time to sit and study the character and get to know her before she stood in front of the cameras. But one moment she was on a flight to Romania, and the next she was training and shooting. There were no rehearsals, and Ortega got stressed out and confused. So she trusted her instincts, but considered her time on Wednesday as one of the toughest she'd experienced so far. Following up, Ortega found her voice on the set. Ortega claimed that there were never so many cooks in the kitchen as there were on the set of Wednesday. While the actor has never had a hard time voicing her thoughts, she felt lost in the middle of so many opinions. After a month, she felt left out and defeated because she tried hard to do what was right for Wednesday. Because the character was so wonderful, she couldn't just lose the fight. She respected the character and wanted to do her justice in the story. Because the showrunners wanted to make Wednesday seem like a normal girl in some cases, Ortega felt they were making her into a normal teenage girl, which she wasn't okay with. Gradually, Ortega found her voice, and she credits her work with Netflix to be the reason why she can voice her opinions much more strongly than she had ever done before. Plus, she found an ally in Burton. Ortega recalled finally that Tim was wonderful about everything and wanted her to feel involved. He really wanted her opinions on the project, and he would call her to his trailer in the mornings and ask her to say what she wanted to. With such wonderful support, her time on set got considerably easier. She found a few such people who became her rocks and helped her out on the project. Moving on, Easter eggs you probably missed on Netflix's Wednesday. Of course, you can't bring such a beloved show to Netflix and not include Easter eggs in it, so the show has many hidden surprises for eagle-eyed fans that are on the lookout for them. One that was revealed in the trailer, and perhaps the most obvious one as well, is the iconic 2 snaps. If you'll recall, the 2 snaps were first seen in the 60s TV show soundtrack. In episode 2, Wednesday discovers the Nightshade's meeting room's covert entrance. She snaps twice to enter. Later, Professor Thornhill double snaps as well to enter the library at Nevermore. Then there was Christina Ricci's appearance as well. She plays Marilyn Thornhill, the botany professor in Nevermore, and was Wednesday Addams in the Addams Family motion pictures of the 1990s. Even though they both play the same character, Jenna Ortega said that they didn't discuss the role with one another and felt that Ricci didn't want to influence her performance in any way or seem overbearing. Coming up, Jenna Ortega deserves credit for wild Netflix success. People tuned in to see Wednesday because of all the efforts of past actors and creators, but the show's success comes down to all the work Jenna Ortega put in. The most adored member of the Addams clan has only become more popular since the show was released on Netflix. Whether you believe it or not, despite Tim Burton's direction or the otherworldly intrigue, these weren't what made Wednesday such a hit. No, it was Jenna Ortega, the incredibly alluring star of the show. Jenna scarcely qualifies as an emerging talent. The 20-year-old American actress got her start as a child performer playing the younger version of Jane in Jane the Virgin, and starring in kid programs including Stuck in the Middle on the Disney Channel and Richie Rich on Netflix. Plus, she starred in slashers like Scream and X as a star, and Netflix has offered her the most reliable work. Ortega is the newest rising talent that the streaming behemoth has nurtured for success. She has big roles in Yes Day, The Babysitter, Killer Queen, and the blockbuster You. But Wednesday might be the project that propels Ortega to the top and makes her a household name. After all, it is Jenna Ortega that makes Wednesday who she is. Moving on, and Ortega filmed Wednesday's iconic dance scene. There's absolutely no way you've not seen Ortega's viral dance in the show. The day the show came out, that one moment became instantly viral, and why wouldn't it be? It's amazing. Thanks to Netflix's Wednesday, which after 2 weeks is already the 3rd most watched English language series of all time on the streaming giant, Jenna Ortega has become an internet star. A sequence in which Ortega's Wednesday breaks out in a wild dancing to the Cramps' 1981 song Goo Goo Muck helped the show more than they could have imagined. And the best part about that dance was all the work Ortega put into it. She was allowed to come up with her own steps for that scene, and boy, did she do her best. She explained that she had spent hours looking through dance moves and putting them together to make something unique. But that's not even all of it. Turns out that on the day that they shot the dance scene, Ortega had COVID-19. She'd only been given the song a week before, but when she arrived on set, and she started to not feel so good. It was her first day with symptoms, and it was awful to film the scene in such a sickly state. She woke up with body aches and immediately knew something was wrong. To help her out, the crew gave her medicine in between takes, and somehow Ortega was done with the scene that was on its way to becoming the most popular dance for Gen Z. Finally, everything great about Wednesday. Wednesday follows the teenage Addams as she departs for Nevermore Academy, a strange boarding school where the oldest pupil is Wednesday. Some of her classmates include werewolves, sirens, and other bizarre characters, but that's the fun of it. The teen finds herself drawn into a sinister murder investigation at the school because of her developing psychic skills. Oh, and there are also therapy issues, Hogwarts-style home problems, and love triangles. Though Ortega has remained stubborn about the boys in Wednesday's lives and wholeheartedly believes that she just doesn't have time for them. That's one of several issues that are apparent when you watch the Netflix series. Wednesday has amazing chemistry with roommate Enid, but it's not something that the show seems to be interested in exploring. Just look at the final hug and tell us we're wrong. There's a passionate soul underneath that rock-hard surface, and Netflix needs to let it out if they want the show to have a long-lasting impact like its past projects. And that's all for now. Do you think the second season of Wednesday will be as good as its first? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.